In this video, we'll finish the dress by creating sculpted and colored details and baking them all into textures. We'll be using Blender and Photoshop for this tutorial. We'll start with the dress we made in the past couple videos. Then we will create a high detail sculpt, adding in some wrinkles and some fabric details. We'll also model in some stitching details on the top and the bottom. Then we will use Photoshop to add in some fabric details with a normal map. And finally, we'll bake all the colors and the wrinkles and the fabric details into the original low poly dress. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's go to our sculpting window here. And let's go to object mode, and so what we'll do is let's hide some of the stuff we don't need. So let's hide the hair, hide the eyelashes, hide the body, get our dress here, and we're going to grab the mesh and go to the modifiers and go to apply, and this will just evenly add geometry to the whole mesh. And I think we don't need quite this much, so let's get rid of this one and this one, X, and delete dissolve edges. So we've got our dress here. We'll call this short dress low. This is the low poly version that we'll actually use for our character, and let's duplicate this with a Shift D, hide that one, and we'll call this short dress sculpt, which we will actually sculpt. And then let's go to multi-resolution modifier, and we're going to subdivide this a few times. You want to make this as high as you need to get the detail you want, but you have to balance it out with how slow it is to work on your computer. So right now you can see it's cranking on my computer. I added a couple sketches here so we can see what we're doing. So I don't think we need a lot of detail here, but we'll need to add this seam, and then we'll add some of these wrinkles here. Whoops. So this, just a little bit of wrinkle. I think the red dress has too many wrinkles, but I think more like the green dress. But I think that seam is nice. And so we'll go and do that. Now down here, I don't think we need any wrinkles. So let's go and do that. And to do this, it's a lot easier using a tablet. You can do it with a mouse, but the tablet's easier. So I'm going to use a tablet. Okay, so let's add that seam in here. So you can see that it looks like it's doubled up on the inside, and so there's a little. You can see a band almost, and you can see a gap in between the two. So let's go and add that in first, and then we'll put these wrinkles on after that. We will go grab our object, go to sculpt mode, and I think the clay stripes tool or strips tool. So we want to come down, I guess down there, like that. Let's make this a bit bigger. And then it's not bad. You kind of want to be careful because you can see how this form pulls away because it's a curve. You'll lose some accuracy in the area that pulls away. So maybe it's better to kind of turn it so that the surfaces face you more. So something like that, maybe. I think that's pretty good. And that's pretty good. I think we need a little more, it's a little uneven up there. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. And then let's blur out the outside with the blur tool or the smooth tool. Oh, and make sure you have your mirror turned on so you don't have to do it twice. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so then let's blur it because it's not this crisp. So I'm just going to soften the the outside a bit so it's not so prominent. But I'm going to leave the middle nice and crisp. Also, you can see there's this funny pattern. I think I brushed it a little bit too fast. So let's just get rid of some of that too. I really want to blur out the outsides here. And down here, let's get rid of all that. Okay. I think it's still, it looks heavier on the outside than the inside, so let's blur out the inside more. Maybe the outside some more, and let's also use this flatten tool. It's a nice way to even out when you have ripples in the surfaces. That looks better, it's not as obvious. Maybe out here too. The seam is too wide, so let's go and shrink that a bit with this tool here, this pinch tool. This pulls everything towards the center of the brush. So you can see here it's a nice way to make the seam sharper. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's go, let's see here. So let's add our horizontal wrinkles, but we'll turn off the mirror mode. Just a few, not a lot going on here. Maybe some on the sides. That one's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. I don't think we need all this many wrinkles. So somewhere in between these two dresses. Sculpting is funny. It's hard to show how to do it because it's such a touchy-feely thing. But I'll try and explain it as I'm going. So I want to pull the geometry out so it looks like cloth being pulled out across the skin. So I like to use the sharp tool, the draw sharp tool, to pull material out a lot. And then once I pull it out and it looks like it's prominent enough, then I use the smooth tool and the flatten tool and the elastic tool to kind of get it into the shape I want. So let's see what this looks like here. So I'm going to try and create, let's go to add instead here. Okay, so let's kind of like turn off the X mirror mode and go for a drapery like hanging cloth feel. Okay, that's pretty good. Then maybe something like that. I guess that's okay. Okay, so I think that's a nice wrinkle. So let's go and add some more material so it's more prominent. And I'm trying to get this to feel like the cloth is pulling away from the body. You just want to have enough material coming out. You can see it pulls funny, so I like to use the elastic tool. This cloth should be pulling pretty evenly, like straight across, not pushing inwards. So you can use the elastic tool to move it. Whoops. So it's more even. So we'll pull this back, pull this out. So it feels like the cloth has more tension. Okay, that's better. Let's do the same thing to the top. Pull that out. So when you do this, try and imagine or feel what the cloth is doing. And then make what you're sculpting feel the same way. And try not to spend too much time. It's so easy to just keep doing this. It's very relaxing and satisfying, but don't spend too long. Okay, so that feels like it's pretty even, but it looks horrible. So let's go and make this look better. Cloth or draperies, usually they're more hollowed out on the top, and the bottom they're flatter. So let's go in, and we have two of them here. So let's do that to these. So we will add some material to the bottom, so it feels like the cloth is pulling away from the body. like that a bit. And I know it looks bad, but we'll just keep messing with it until it looks good. And up here, I think that's probably okay. And so I like using this flatten tool a lot. It I don't know how it works, but it feels like it just evens out the area inside this circle. And so it should even out all of these little ripples and imperfections, so it's nice and flat. It feels like this is more of a planar smooth, and smooth, it just kind of like smooths things out but keeps the shape. That's not making any sense. I'm sorry, I'm not helping you much here, but try the flatten tool. It's pretty nice. So let's flatten this inside out a bit more. Okay. Then let's also, I think this is too heavy, so let's smooth this whole thing down. Yeah, feels too prominent over there. And it feels like this wants to pull down, so let's go and do that. Not a lot to say here, you just gotta keep messing with it until it looks good. It's not like the hard modeling kind of technique we were doing all this time, which it's more mechanical. This is just very flowy. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. And then let's add some more wrinkles. Okay, so let's see here. Let's add a little tiny wrinkle up here, and then maybe a couple below the chest area, and maybe a couple across the stomach. Okay, so let's add a wrinkle over here, and maybe make this bigger so it's a less focused wrinkle. Okay, that's pretty good. And then let's add maybe a wrinkle, let's see here, down there and up here. So we'll add a wrinkle going across this seam. Okay, that's all right. Let's add something over here. So we are going to have a stitching detail running all along this upper edge, so I'm going to stay a little bit away from that. Otherwise I'd put a, like, this is probably, no, it's probably okay, but I'm going to be a little bit further away from it. I think I'll turn on mirror mode also. Okay. Let's turn off mirror mode. We don't need a lot, just a little bit to add some life to it. I'm trying to feel where the wrinkles are. Where do the wrinkles want to be? Oh, I like that one. A lot of times you'll see wrinkles where there's hollows in the skin because the dress pulls away from it a bit. But I don't want to do too many. Okay, I think that's enough. So now let's go and smooth these all out. Just knock them back some. You don't want to really smooth across this seam because you'll lose this crispness. So stay away from that. Let's just knock all these back. So this is a little bit prominent here, and that's okay. We will just fill it in some. Oops. Like that. I think this is too heavy. Smooth the whole thing out. So we're gonna call it a day, and let's go and add some stitching details. Okay, let's go back into object mode, and let's hide our high poly sculpt, show our low poly dress. Let's hide these sketches. So let's go add some stitching detail. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to create some stitches, and then we're going to create a curve that we can use to guide the stitches around the mesh. So let's make the guide curve first, or let's start it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these curves from the dress, and we'll use that as the actual guide curve, so we know it follows perfectly. We don't have to remake it. So let's grab our dress, and let's go to edge mode and grab a loop, and we'll just use this to create our stitching. Actually, I want the stitching to be a little bit closer to the edge, so let's do this. Let's go Control R and click that. And I think that'll be good. So then let's go to Shift D to duplicate this. Then we will drop it with the Escape key, and then go to Mesh, Separate Selection. So that's a separate part now. And we can make sure, okay, so this is our low stitch. Sorry, let's go to bottom guide. So let's hide this for now. And let's go and delete this loop because we don't need that. Go to X, dissolve edges. Let's bring back our bottom stitch guide. So right now this is technically it's a mesh, even though it's just a edge, but this is technically a mesh. So we need to convert this to a curve. But before we do that, we need to break it so it's not a closed loop. Because when we use the curve modifier, it works better when it's not a closed loop. So let's go and break it. Let's make the break as small as possible. So to edge and subdivide like that. And then we'll grab these two and go to X and delete edges. Now we will go to object mode, go to object and convert to curve. So now this is a curve, and let's go and to edit mode, grab that point, and let's put our 3D. We want to put the object origin there. So where is our origin? Oh, you know what? We probably can't see it because we probably have things toggled off. So 3D cursor was turned off and origin was turned off. So I want to bring the origin to this point right here, but we need the 3D cursor to do that. So I also turn on 3D cursor. So now we can see this red and white circle is a 3D cursor, and the orange dot is the orange. Oh, the orange dot is the origin. So let's grab a point, go to Shift S, which brings our 3D cursor tools up, and hit 2 to, what is it? 2 is cursor to selected. So grab a point, Shift S, cursor to selected, and that brings it here. Now that we have the 3D cursor there, we will go to object mode and then set origin to 3D cursor. So now, I don't know if you can see that orange dot appeared right at the edge. So now that's set up and ready to go. Okay, so let's see here. So you can kind of pick the stitching style you like. I'm just going to go for something simple like that or something like that. It looks like it has two weaves kind of intermingling together. So let's go and make that. So we'll go to our front view, go to Shift A, Mesh and Cube, and let's scale it down. So it's the same, I guess, width of the stitching I want to do. So it's about good. Let's move this forward. Actually, let's leave it there. And then let's go and first it's freeze the scales. So since I scale it down, the scale is not zeroed out. So let's go to Control A and scale. So that's back to 1, 1, 1. Then go to Edit Mode, grab a face, and let's what I'm going to do is I'm going to model just this little piece here. So let's go and model just that one little piece. So let's go to here and but instead of going down, we're going to go sideways. So GX and pull it like that. I'm going to have to like bend this in kind of an S shape. So let's go to Control R and add some geometry here, like that. And then let's make it smooth. So let's go to Subdivision Surface and smooth it out. And I think let's just go to Object Mode and apply that. And I think that should be enough geometry. So then let's do this. Let's go and add an array modifier. This is how we'll get our stitching to repeat across the whole, go around the whole dress. And then let's shape this some more. So go to Edit Mode, grab that, and let's rotate it. Oops, so I wasn't in X-ray mode, so it only grabbed the front of it. If you go to X-ray mode, then you'll grab through it. Okay. And let's go out of X-ray mode. So now we can rotate this kind of like that. I think if we rotate this down and rotate that up, that'll do it. So we need to rotate around the object center. And we've got that selected already, this bounding box center. So let's go to point mode, X-ray mode, and grab just the tips. Oops. What? Okay. And then let's turn on proportional editing. And then let's turn off X-ray mode and rotate this, and it's just moving the whole thing. So let's scroll our mouse wheel on. We have proportional editing turned on. So let's scroll our mouse wheel up until the sphere gets smaller. Then you can see it's starting to pull it down a bit. I think like that, that's good. And then let's rotate it again and scroll the wheel up. And yeah, I think that looks good. Let's scale it wider. Scale X. So it's a wider thing, but they're not touching. So let's go and reduce this to say 0.9. No, 0.8. No, 0.7. Okay. Is that good? 0.6. Okay, I think that looks nice. It looks like a nice little detail. So let's duplicate this a bunch of times so it can go around the whole dress. Turn on our wireframe, our thing here, so we can see our curve. And let's hide this dress for now. Okay, so let's grab our object here. This should be a curve. And yeah, so let's grab that. The origin is there. Grab our stitching detail, and the origin is also in the same place. Then let's go and add a curve modifier here. So curve, and then let's grab our curve. Okay, so now our curve is starting to go around the dress. So let's add to the array here until it goes all the way around. Okay. So maybe 194. Okay, so let's go to edit mode here. Let's turn on all the real-time things so we can see it. And let's scale it in X just a little bit. Okay, good. So now we've got our stitching going all the way around the dress. Let's turn our dress back on here. It's not perfect here, so we'll have to tweak the curve so it's popping out. We don't want it to be inside the dress. If it's out too much, that's okay, because we're just going to use this to make normals. So let's go and modify the curve so it's all outside. So where is our curve? Okay, so that's needs to go forward. GY. Let's turn off proportional editing. It's GY. Oh, so you can see we're changing the curve actually changes the alignment of the stitching, so we'll have to go and change that later. GY, let's pull that out a bit. These two will need to scale out. Scale X, pull that out a bit. That is also in, so scale X. So just go through this and make sure everything is outside of the geometry. I think this one, GY, to pull that a bit back. Okay, so I think that's good. Now let's go back to our array and subtract some, 93, 92, 91. 90, okay, 91. Let's go to edit mode and again scaled in X. So if you scale it in X and you're too close to where your object is, it's this is actually the object. So if you scale it when you're too close to the middle, it's hard to control. Let's turn that on. It's hard to control it. If you're further away and you scale in X, it's easier to control it when you're further away. Okay, so let's turn that back on and scale in X. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, so we've got our little stitching detail at the bottom of the dress. And let's just do the same thing for the top of the dress. So let's pull back our, bring back our low poly dress. And let's go and grab some loops at the top. Grab the dress, edit mode, edge mode. Grab some loops, and that's pretty good, I think. Shift D to duplicate, escape and drop it, and then mesh separate selection, like that. Okay, let's hide the dress. So same as last time. Let's go to edit mode, zoom in here, point mode. Subdivide this a couple times, edge and subdivide. Subdivide again. Let's delete this here. X, let's make sure we're right in the right place. Yeah. X and edges. Click a point there, Shift S and 2. drop out into object mode, object set origin to 3D cursor. That's there. Oops, and then let's go down here and grab our object here. Let's Shift D to duplicate that. Then move it up in Z. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. It's cool. So let's make it easier to see. So let's turn these off, turn that off. And let's uncurve it. Where's our array? Okay. Let's turn that off. Okay. So now let's bring our object, the origin for this stitch, up to the origin for this curve. So we'll go to Shift S and 8, which is 8 is selection to cursor. There you go. And then let's turn this stuff back on, turn that stuff back on. So we'll pick this curve this time. Pick this curve this time. Oh, we didn't convert this yet. So this is, right now, this is a mesh. So to go to Object and Convert to Curve. And now, let's click the curve. And it attaches to it. And then let's reduce our array count here. Wow. I'm not sure why it's going the other way. That's something must be flipped backwards. Not sure why, but that's okay. Oh look, and it lines up nicely. And let's bring back our high poly dress. Let's make sure it's not poking through. Okay, so that looks all okay. Okay, so now we've got our wrinkles sculpted in, and we've got our little stitching detail for the edge of the dress. You know, I think this stitching detail is just a little bit too, it's not following close enough. So let's go and modify these curves a bit. Let's go to object mode with our curve selected. It's hard to see. Curve selected, and go to, let's go to edit mode, curve, set spline type, Bezier. Then go to control points, handle type, and free. Let's bring back our mesh. So what this does, it allows us to modify the curve with a granular level of control. You see here, let's turn off our proportional editing, GX, and you can, GX, and you can see we can modify the curve as finely as we want to. So let's just take care of the little edges. GX, GY, GX. It doesn't need to be super accurate because we're just going to use this for to create normals. This is okay. This is our center point. So we'll just take out a few segments of our array. So ignore that one. Let's pop this one out a bit. GX, move that. GX and GX, GY. So just go through and subtly modify this. It's a little tedious. But I think this will get better results when we bake. Okay, so now that the curve is all tweaked and nice, let's go and modify our array to take out some of these stitches. And of course it doesn't line up, so let's go to edit mode. Oops, A to select all, and SX. Oh, SX. I think that will project better. It's not perfect, but I think it'll project better, and so we're good. We also want to add some fine fabric-like texture to this whole dress. And if we look at our reference image here, we also want to add this flower detail to the dress for the colors, but this should also kind of pop out from the fabric a little bit. So we want to put that in the normal map. So let's go and add those two. So to do that, we will need to use Photoshop. You can also do this in GIMP, which is a free program, but I know Photoshop, so I'm just going to use Photoshop for this tutorial. So what we want to do is go to the UV editing workspace and go to our UV window here, hit A to select all, go to UV, export UV layout, and then save that somewhere. So I'll save it in this textures folder, and we'll call this short dress UV map. And let's make it a 4K image, so you can always downsize it later. Okay, so we've got that saved. And we also want to, I know this is a lot of dead space here, it's pretty inefficient, but let's also add a UV map for stitching details. Let's grab our stitching detail, go to edit mode, hit A to select it, and it's already laid out. We're gonna put this UV map into the UV map for the dress. And so there's a little bit of guesswork, but if you go to the dress, select it, you can see, like, you know, that the stitching is so small, you don't really need much. It's basically as wide as like this NG here. And so if you look here, it's about that wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one stitching detail, this top one, right here inside this box. And for the bottom stitching detail, which is the same size, we'll put it right there. So we can use the same map for both parts. Okay, so let's go and do that. So let's unpick this and grab our stitching detail, grab that, scale this down, and let's go to here. So it's MC and MD. So let's just move this right there. So that's one. And then go to UV, export UV layout, textures, and we'll call this top stitch UV map. And save it as 4K. And then let's do the same thing for the bottom. Go to edit mode, A, select all, and grab this. Move it down here. It was MC and MD. So let's see here. Scale this here. Okay. And then UV, export UV layout. And save this in here. And we'll put this as bottom stitch UV map. Okay, export layout. Okay, now let's jump into Photoshop. Okay, so we've got Photoshop open, and I'm going to open this main dress UV map in Photoshop. So I'll just double click that and use Photoshop. And let's open up this top stitching and this bottom stitching. So we've got all of our UV maps here. And so we want to bring these two, they're hard to see here. So these two images have the little stitching detail. So we want to bring that into the main dress UV map. So let's just drag this to the side here. Click our main map, hit V. So we have the move tool selected right here, this guy. And just drag this over to the map where we want to put it. Hold Shift and let go. And it should put it in, didn't do it. V. Okay, that's weird. Now it did it. Make sure you hold Shift when you're dragging it over. So this way it puts it centered relative to where it started. Otherwise, it won't line up right. So I can show that. If you just drag it over, you can see it just puts it, wherever. I don't know if you can see that. It just puts it wherever. We don't want that. We want it right in this bottom quadrant. So if you drag, so you can see it's moving, go over here, hold Shift and let go. You can see it puts it right where it started. Okay, let's close that. Shift drag all the visible layers in the layer window. Control E to collapse it. And then change this to multiply. And let's see. Let's make a background so we can see it. So click this little icon here to make a new layer. It's called layer 3. We'll call this background. And let's call this map. So the background, let's just fill it with white. If you hit D, it changes these two to black foreground and white background. And so or you could pick this and change whatever color you want, but D just changes it to black and white. Go and click your layer, then hit Alt Delete, hit Control Delete. Control Delete fills it with the background color, and Alt Delete fills it with the foreground color. So foreground is the black color here. Background is the color swatch that's behind the front one. So this way you can easily just fill a layer with a color. Okay, so we got the background here. So now we can see our map instead of this, checker pattern. And let's put this to multiply. It's already set. Hit Control L to do your levels. Let's just drag this over here. This is a nice way to adjust the brightness of things. So drag this so you just see an outline. Okay, and then let's lock the transparency. Okay, so that's set up. So now we want to add a texture to it. So let's go and open a texture file. So let's grab our layer here. So you can grab any JPEG, just look up seamless textures. So let's grab this, double click it here. And what we'll do is we'll hit Control A, Control C, go over to this window, Control V to paste it. V to make sure we have the V tool, the pick tool selected. It's a move tool. I don't even know what it's called. I've done Photoshop for so long, I just think Photoshop. So use the move tool and let's move this up here. If you hold Alt, you can duplicate things as you move them. And so what we want to do is we want to take this texture and map it across the entire texture, but it's also too big, so we want to scale it down. So let's Control Z to undo and hit V. Let's move this here and let's scale to see how big we want this actual pattern to be. So if you hit Control T, you can transform. And if you go up to here and click this magnet, you'll lock the X and Y. And let's just scale this down. And I think, 10%. And if you click enter, it'll apply the scale. So I think that looks about good. So about 10%. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, let's just delete this layer. And go to here. So we're going to make a new, image, and we're going to map this across the entire image and repeat it so that way it's nice and full, and then we'll scale the whole thing down. So we're going to make this, I guess, 10 times the size of what it is now. So let's go to image and image size. Okay, so it's nice. It's 1024 by 1024. So it's square and it's a standard image size, which is nice. So we'll cancel that, and we will Control A to copy it, Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, and then we will go to image and image size, and let's make this like 16384. Okay, so that should be around 16 times the size of what it was before. We'll hit Control V to paste it, and I can't even see what's going on, so let's delete. Let's fill this background layer with white, like that, and go back to our texture here. Okay, so there's probably a better way to do this, but I'm just going to do it like this. So let's tell you how to do it. So click the layer over here, which has our texture. Hit V to get the V tool. Hold Alt, and you'll see the icon changes to a double arrow. And click it so you can move it, and then hold Shift without letting go of the mouse, and so it'll constrain it to different directions. So I'm going to move it over here, and then hit Shift, and you can see it goes only in the horizontal. And then just drag it back until it snaps. Now we know it's perfectly aligned. Then hit Control E to merge this layer down to this layer. So now this is just one chunk. And then do the same thing. Alt, click, drag, Shift, Control E. So this is a really manual, hands-on way of doing things. There's much better ways of doing this. Okay, so we've got the whole thing repeating, which is good. Now Control A to select all, Control C to copy, go back over here, and let's zoom out. Control V, and it should be really big. So hit Control T to transform, and then drag. Let's get closer so we can see. Drag it until it snaps, like that. Okay, hit Enter. Okay, that looks right. I want to move this layer below the map layer, so I could drag that. So now we can see it's behind it. Or you can have the layer you want to move selected and hit Control, left bracket or right bracket, and you can just step it through your layers. Okay, so now we've got this texture here, and let's see if it's the right size. So I'm looking at the chest because it's a reference for size, and you can see, okay, I think the stitching details okay now. Could be a little bit smaller, but it's okay. Okay, so we've got that. So now let's bring this into Blender and see how it looks. So let's turn off our lines. Actually, let's also do this. Let's see, fabric. And let's also add a stitching. Okay, so this is our stitching layer. And let's just space control to zoom in, and hold space and left mouse to pan around. Okay, M to get the marquee tool, and then just drag around these two here. Make sure our stitching layer is active. Let's change this color to I don't know, light blue. And then Control click. I always get this backwards. Alt click, and we fill our selection in the layer we have selected. with the color. So we've got that. Control D to unselect. And let's see here. So that's our stitching. This is all the inside of the dress. So if you want to cheat and not make it PBR, you can grab this and make a layer and make this darker. But if you want to do strictly PBR, then just leave it alone. So we'll just leave it alone. And then let's see, it's Control S to save it again. Turn off our map. Control Shift S to save it as, and hit, let's pick JPEG, and we'll call this short dress ALB for albedo, and click Save, and OK. Okay, so back to Blender. Where is Blender? Okay, back to Blender here. And let's unselect that, grab our dress, go to our base color here, click this to open our image, and then let's navigate to where our image was. So these are all the tutorial files here. Texture and short dress albedo, and click open image. This should change to show our texture. And so let's zoom in. And, well, gosh, this texture is still too thick. It's okay, we'll change that. But let's also apply the same texture to our stitching. So this texture is called, so if you have our object selected, let's go to the material properties. And it's, okay, so it's the dress material. So let's grab our stitching, click this little material window here, and click dress. And this applies that same texture, and you can see it's the light blue that we made that little blowout window. Let's apply the same thing to the bottom here. Click that, and then click dress. And okay, there we go. Okay, so now we know at least those are mapping okay. We also know that our texture for the dress is still too big. So let's make that smaller. And I know you can see a repeating pattern. If you use something like Substance, you could deal with that better. But this is going to be a really subtle normal map, so you're not going to see that. So let's go back to Photoshop. Let's go back to Photoshop. Got a gazillion windows open. And let's do the same thing here. V, move that. Control E, E, do that. And Control E, Control T, 50. Let's turn on our map here and check this. Okay, I think that looks good now. So let's Control Shift S, Tab J for JPEG, then click the same file we saved earlier and we'll save over it. Click yes, hit enter, Alt Tab to Blender, and then reopen this thing. If you do it too fast, the file won't be saved yet, but I think we're okay. Okay. So now this texture looks like it's maybe still a little bit big, but this is looks much more appropriate. Okay, so now we have our base texture for our fabric that we'll use to make a normal map. Then let's also add in our flower pattern. So I already made. So you can find these on the web where you can draw your own, but we want to map these onto the dress and then use this to also add to our normal map. So I'll show you how to do that, but we want to figure out where to put the flowers on the normals. So let's see here. If you grab the dress and go to edit mode, you can see over here, it's like, well, where do I put the flowers? Do I put it here? It's kind of there, or do I put it back here? Yeah, maybe. But a nice and easy way to just help you figure out where to put it is go to texture paint mode, go to T for tools, make sure that's selected, hit N for tool here, and just let's pick a color. Let's pick like fuchsia. And then let's make sure the strength is all the way up. Hit F to reduce the size. Let's just draw a little band here to show where we want the flower to go. So I think like right there, maybe a little higher. Kind of like right there. Maybe turn on mirror mode. And then maybe the middle of the flowers right there. And on the side, let's just make that go like that. And then this will be the middle of the back. My computer's going very slow. I might need to restart or something. Okay, so now let's save this image. So we have to go and find it in the image viewer here. So this was the dress albedo. So let's click that and go. And so you can see the little star to tell you it's not saved. Then just go to image and save. Then let's flip back to Photoshop here. Actually, let's open up the albedo. Double click that. So you've got that. Control A, Control C, Control W to close it. And then, Control, let's zoom out. So Control Alt Space is how you zoom out, or Control Space is how you zoom in. So Control Alt Space to zoom out, Control V to paste. So you can see now we have those lines that we created earlier. And you can see where it is on the mesh. So it's right in those areas. So then let's go and grab our flowers and just drop them in. Control A, Control C, Control W, Control V. And then hit V and then move this to where we want it to go. I think this should be upside down. When you're manipulating images in Photoshop, if you rotate it and it's always on a 90, it won't degrade the image. So don't worry about doing that. If you Control T and hold Alt and click a corner, and then hold Shift to constrain, you can scale it proportionally. This will degrade the image, so make sure you want to do this. And I do. So let's put this like kind of like right there. If you can make this a little bit transparent with this opacity slider. Oops. I'm not sure which layer this is now, so I'm going to hit V and I'm going to control click. Oh, so the map is on top. I wanted to control click to just click these flowers, but the map is on top. So it just picked whatever is the highest on the stack. You can lock that layer and then control click again. And now it'll go to the layer you select. Let's call this flowers front. Okay. And let's call this one flower ref. Okay, so now let's hit control click and we are on the flower front. So now you can see through the flower and you can see our reference line and where we want to put that. So I think like that's good. Alt tab, we'll grab the back flowers, enter, Control A, Control C, Control W, Control V. Let's call this back flower, flower back. Okay, let's move this over here. Let's reduce the opacity so we can see better. You'll notice this back dress is upside down. So let's hit Control T and move the mouse cursor until you see the rotating arrow. Then click and drag and then hold Shift to constrain. And enter to lock it in. And let's just put it like right there. And just leave it at that. Okay. So let's make sure our flowers are lined up properly. We will grab our, let's go to object mode. So grab our dress and then go to the albedo here, the base color, and let's reload it here. I did not save it. So let's go back to Photoshop. And then let's hide the lines there. Control Shift S, Tab J, click that, enter, yes. Make sure it's saved, Alt Tab to Blender. And then let's load it up and see. Yeah, okay, I think that's a good location. Okay, so now let's use these flowers to add to our textures so we can create a normal map. So let's go back to Photoshop here and let's delete our flowers ref file layer. Okay, so first let's deal with this overall fabric. So we don't need blue, so we're going to create a levels thing here. So we'll go to here. So click this little guy here and go to hue saturation, and then just take out all the saturation, and then go to make sure you had fabric selected. So it'll put this layer right on top of it. Then go to the same thing and go to levels. So the way it works is, and I always get this backwards, the way it works when you're creating normal maps or bump maps is if it's lighter, it's protruding out from a surface, and if it's darker, it's protruding back. So let's modify this so it works like that. But what I want is, I want the flowers to be the highest part of this. Now let's drag this down here. So to make that work well, this actually might work good. So if the whole, if all this medium gray area has some fine texture details, that's good. And then if the flower parts are brighter than that, then it'll stand off from the main fabric texture. So I think that'll work. So let's go and bring our flowers in here. And so let's make this 100% and 100%. So how do we make this a white image on top of a gray field? So let's grab our flower layer and drag it down to this little piece of paper looking icon, and it duplicates it. Let's move this up here a bit, and let's call this flower front bump. It's kind of like a bump map. Let's do the same thing for the back. Drag this down to here, flower back bump. And let's hide our main flowers. Okay, so we want to make this flower stick out. Okay, so let's grab our flower here, and we will Control I to invert it, and we will Control U to take out the color, and then we will change the transparency to like screen. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna guess that is too dark. Let's do the same thing for here. Control I, Control U, take out the saturation. Okay, and make this screen. Where'd it go? Okay, so back to the front flower. I'm gonna guess this is going to be too not bright enough. So let's do this here. So let's take this, let's test it out. So let's take this and move this down here to duplicate it. So these are all duplicated. Let's hit Control E to merge all these layers so it freezes it. So you can see here, now it's just that the grade is now just a frozen image. So let's put this over here. Versus down here, you can see it's not deconstructed, so we still have the color and the levels. Okay, so we don't need these now. We just need this gray one here. And let's grab these three here and let's hit Control E to merge them all. So now this is just one image, one giant gray texture with these flowers. And then let's go to have this layer selected, go to Filter, 3D, and generate normal map. Let it work for a bit. Okay, so you can see, it's hard to see here. You can kind of see that it's looking like it's popping out, which is nice. You can double check it in this 3D-ish window here. And so it looks, is that popping out? If you get it backwards, you can invert the height. So, okay, so this looks correct. So let's click OK. Then go to File and Save As. Tab J for JPEG. And then let's call this short dress normal. Fine. So this is just for the fabric detail. Let's click Save and save that. And let's go back to Blender and see if we got it right here. Okay, so let's take off our color here and let's go and Shift A, S, I, M, A for image texture. Let's load up our new normal. Make this non-color. Then go to Shift A, S, N, O, R for normal map. Click that here. Then we can just add color to normal. And if you can see that. So I attached color to normal and just drag that in between and it plugs it in. Okay, so here it goes, and let's. Okay, so not bad. So it looks like the flowers are popping out, which is good. We want that. And then do we have our fabric textures here? Yep, we've got fabric textures there. It's pretty subtle. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So let's go back to Photoshop and let's see here. Yeah, that's actually good. So let's call that a day. Let's add some color also. So I mean, I was gonna just bake the normal map, but let's also, since we've got this all made, let's just add some color. So we had a white dress with a little flower pattern, and we didn't actually have the stitching in our concept, but let's go and add that here. So let's bring back our flowers. So we've got red flowers. Let's make the stitching match that. So I've got the stitching box selected here. I'm going to hit Control U to adjust the hue. Let's just make that red, or maybe slightly pinkish. I think that's good. And then let's make sure we look good here. Okay, Control Shift S, Tab J. It's probably better to go with like PNGs or something. ALB for albedo, and click Save. And they take a bit to save. Okay, let's go back to Blender and add that on. So we'll reattach the color. And then let's go and open our newly saved PNG. Click OK. And let's see what we got here. So we've got our stitching, got our flowers, and well, you almost can't see that they're popping out, but if you pull off your color, you can see the normal map is doing something. It's just, it's hard to see, you know, when you've got all this color on here. Okay, so I think we have everything ready to bake our textures. So let's go and do that. Let's go to our shading workspace. Let's zoom out a bit here. And let's see here. Okay, so let's hide what we don't need. So we don't need these curves anymore. We want to bake the two stitching. Well, let's call this stitch. And let's call this stitch. Okay, so we want to bake the stitching from the bottom. We want to bake the stitching from the bottom and the top and the sculpted dress onto this short dress low. So this is the low poly, well, low-ish poly dress. So let's make them all visible. And then we want to first, well, let's actually grab our low poly dress, go to our texture here, and we can actually use the same albedo for the color, but we want to make a new normal texture. So Shift A, S, IMA for image texture, hit new. Make this 4096 by 4096. We'll call this short dress normal test. And let's make this 1K. Just so we can test it and not waste lots of time. Then let's Shift D and duplicate that, and we'll call this, we'll make a new one. Call this short normal. 4096 by 4096. So let's test it with the low res one, just so it doesn't take forever. Let's make it visible down here. So it's SHOR, short dress normal test. Okay, so now we can see it as it's baking. Make sure it's selected here. Hit slash to bring everything back. So let's grab all the high poly parts. So stitching top, stitching bottom, and the sculpt. And then control click the dress low. Okay. And then let's bake it at 0.5 extrusion to see what it looks like when it's not good. Okay, so we've got our little normal baked here. We've got fabric textures. We've got the flowers. We've got the stitching here. So when I tested it before, I had some glitches in these areas here, but it looks okay now. Over here, these of course are going to be messed up because they're on the inside of the dress. So you can improve that by lowering this number, but I would usually just take it out in Photoshop. But yeah, it's funny. Okay, so well anyway, so I know, so you could leave it at 0.5, but I know that 0.025 worked better, so I'm just going to do that. It'll help all this stuff over here anyway. So let's go and do our bake for real. So short dress fine, and we can save this test just in case. But let's make this the short dress normal short dress normal. Okay, and then make sure short dress normal is selected. And then let's click bake. make sure short dress normal is selected, and then let's click bake. Let's make sure we have these selected correctly. Yes. Make sure they're visible. Yes. And bake. Okay, so the file is baked. So let's go and check it out and see how it looks. Let's turn off our high detail meshes here. Grab our low poly mesh and take off the fine detail normal and put on the normal with the fine detail plus the wrinkles. And let's, oh, if you get these weird seams, it's because you didn't switch it to non-color. Okay. Okay. So now we've got our little fabric details, and we've got our wrinkles and our seams, and we've got the flowers bumping out. It's hard to see. Let's do this. Yeah, great. Got it. So I think we are good to go. Oh, and we also have our little stitching details that we modeled up. So let's see here. Yeah, they did get a little bit distorted around those ends. I think it's okay. I guess if you wanted to avoid that, you would model these so they're not bending quite as much, so it maps a little bit better. But I think it's okay. Yeah, same thing there. It's a little dodgy. I mean, you should really redo it, but for the tutorial, we're not going to do it. Here you can see this is too close. So by lowering that number for the bake, oh yeah, let's look at that. So by lowering the number for the bake, before it was all messed up here, now it's less messed up. But I'll just take this out in Photoshop because the inside, it's not as important as the outside. Maybe clean up down here too. Okay, so normal is good. Let's put our color back on. And since we're here, let's also bake the color for the stitching. So we have the color stitching. So let's bring back our high detail stuff and let's exit isolate mode. Okay, and we've got the high poly visible and the stitching parts are visible. Okay, so let's go and bake the color here. So we'll grab our short dress albedo here. Let's make it visible down here. Short dress albedo. Okay, so we can see it there. And then we can grab this here. And let's make sure that, so when you bake it, we're going to bake the color now. So let's just make sure our high poly has all the colors we want. So I'll hide the low poly. And okay, so, well, I don't want that. So let's fix that. But, and how that got there. So the high poly has the flowers and it's got the stitching colors, and we just need to fix this little thing here. So let's go to N for the tool. Okay. S to pick up a color and F to make it bigger. Can't even see it. It's actually there. Okay, so that's gone. Image and save. Okay. Let's bring back our low poly model. And control click the high poly parts. Let's make it all visible here. And then control click our low poly dress. And then let's go to bake and pick color or diffuse. And then let's just pick color. Okay, I think that works. Dress albedo is selected. Bake. Okay, the bake is done. So let's go and take a look at this here. So we'll turn off our high poly objects. Let's turn on our light source. And then let's go and see how this looks. Okay, so we've got a little stitching there, down there. Got our flowers in our dress. We've got the fine textures and the wrinkles. So I think that's about everything. I do think that we need, let's see here. I think we need, so let's just make a roughness map since we're here. So let's go to our Photoshop and let's go and bring back our little textures and our flower. We'll have to do this again, won't we? Okay, so we'll have to so let's do this again quickly. So we'll grab flowers, drag it down here, hide these guys, go Control I, Control I, Control U, and Control U, turn saturation, then go to normal and go to screen, 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 and go to normal to screen. So let's make a roughness. So I think the way it works is everything that's dark is shiny. So let's make the flowers a little bit shiny. So let's actually invert this. Then go to multiply and multiply. Then let's make the texture for our cloth very light. So let's go to levels, double click that, and make it like almost white. And so this should make everything pretty matte. It'll make the flowers a little bit glossy. I think that'll be nice. So Control Shift S, Tab J, and short dress roughness, ROUGH. Let's flip back into Blender and let's just grab one of these guys here and open that roughness map and non-color and drag that to roughness. And I hope I didn't get this backwards. And is it? Yeah. Okay, so the flowers are shiny and everything else is matte, which is what we want. Okay. Let's go and fix those things. So let's go and fix the color map and the normal map. So for the color, we've got it right here. So let's just do it in Blender. Okay, so let's go to texture painting mode. Let's go back to object mode here. Let's go and grab our dress. And let's first paint out all this color stuff here. So we'll go to the albedo, short dress ALB, short dress albedo. Okay, so we've got that one there. You just take out all this stuff. So grab the object, go to Sculpt, texture paint mode, and then have this here. We can probably leave mirror on, hit S to pick up a color, and just wipe it out. And you should see the same thing happen over here. You could even color it here if you want to. Be careful you don't go over into the part of the textures you actually want to be nice. Okay. I think this is messing some stuff up down here, so let's get rid of that. Okay. And then these also. Okay, that's better. Let's go to image and save. Then let's look at the normal N-O-R. Short dress normal. Short dress. Oh, here we go. So you have to get rid of all of this stuff here. So I'm going to, and this stuff down here too. So let's go S to pick up a color. Make sure if you're angled this way and trying to draw here, you'll, what's going on here? Short dress normal. Oh, so when you're painting, make sure you have the correct map selected. Short dress normal. Okay, so S to pick up a color here. It looks like it's color, but I'm actually picking up off this map. So it's probably picking up one of these colors here, or you can get it here. S to pick it up, and then you can see you can just wipe out all those little details. But if you're angled this way, you'll go too far and you'll end up wiping out the part you actually want to keep. And since this surface was angled away, you didn't actually touch it. So when you're just, fixing your normal, make sure you turn the surfaces that you want to keep away from you. So this way, when you brush over it, you can see the outside still good. Like that. And we need a subdivision. Like that. Just clean it up. If you want to keep some of these details, you can do that too with the clone tool. So click the clone tool and then hit Control to pick up a texture. Control left click to pick up a texture, and then right click to draw in or paint in the texture. So you can do that too, just like that. Doesn't work in a 3D. It doesn't work in a 2D thing. And just go in, add that. I think it's actually a bit nicer. Although I think it's nicer to have the bottom clean. So let's go and brush the bottom all even. Like that. Yeah, let's just like clean it up first, and then we'll add in the texture back. So go like that. I think this part's all done. And clone tool and hit Control. Looking for any little glitches here. And I'm rotating away, so like I don't want to modify the bottom part. I want to modify more the front part. So Control and drag that. I must have missed this. S to pick up. Then the clone tool. That looks okay. Oops. Control. So just go around and clean up any little glitches in the normal map. That looks okay. And then if you want to keep the texture on the inside, you can do that too. Just same thing. It's hard to, I don't want to mess with this bottom part, so yeah, it's kind of hard to do that. So we'll just get close. Control and just drag it there like that. And we should have mirror mode on, so we should only need to do half of this. Color bleeding through here, so let's hit our N tool, go to the albedo, N, and draw, S to pick it up and just wipe out those little glitches. Okay, then N, let's go back to our normal. And clone tool, and then go back to it. Control. And this is the inside of the dress, so it's really not that big of a deal. Okay. Let's check the top here too. Okay. Okay, let's go to object mode, and I think that's our dress. Okay, so let's bring back our character and see how she looks with her new dress. So we've got the short dress low. Turn on the eyelashes, and if they're not showing up, it's because we are in isolate mode. Okay, there we go. Let's turn on the body. Let's get the hair in place and turn on some color. And yeah, okay, nice. So that's it for our video today. I hope you found that useful. If it was, leave a comment to let me know, like or subscribe, or better yet, support me on Patreon. In the next video, we will make some shoes. See you then.